It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today will be all about the reigning Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers as we start to preview the upcoming 2021 NFL season. We'll take a look at some training camp quick hits as well as reasons for optimism and causes for concern, in addition to our offensive and defensive positional breakdowns. But first, let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the Bucs season as we go into our 4-minute offense. The Bucs are coming off an impressive run to the Super Bowl last year, one that saw them rip off 4 straight wins to close out the regular season and sweep their way through the playoffs en route to the Lombardi Trophy. The next question then becomes, can they do it again? Well, one would like to think so, as the Bucs did the unthinkable, and that was to bring back all 22 starters from the team and all 3 coordinators along with the head coach. That's unheard of in today's NFL, but that is what makes this 2021 season so compelling for the Buccaneers as we enter training camp. Tampa had a pretty strong defensive draft, one that helped them find immediate contributors while also prepping for the future. First-round pick Joe Tryon out of Washington is a top-tier edge rusher who will be a situational player initially before becoming a full-time guy in the future. And getting 2 linebackers in KJ Britt and Grant Stewart, both dash and dart type players, can help them instantly on special teams while also being groomed as inside linebackers of the future. And 7th-round pick Chris Wilcox out of BYU has the upside you look for, coupled with the length and athleticism that they covet at the position. So needless to say, the Bucs didn't rest on their 2020 laurels. They went out and got better this past April. Also in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Buccaneers took Florida Gator quarterback Kyle Trask in the 2nd round, and with the pick that high, you wonder if he is looked at to be their heir apparent to Tom Brady whenever he decides to retire. The good thing for Trask is that he'll get the luxury of extensive playing time during the preseason, which will prove to be vital to his growth and his long-term success. Now, whether or not he becomes that guy is still yet to be seen. Although, from a skill set perspective, there are some limitations in terms of arm strength and athleticism, so we'll see if he can overcome those things as he begins his pro career. We saw last season the Buccaneers secondary start to gain confidence with each week after the bye, which had them playing their best ball down the backstretch of 2020. The hope is that confidence will carry over into 2021, especially on the corners, where we saw both Carlton Davis and Sean Murphy-Bunting make huge strides in their games, and Jamel Dean started to play with much more confidence and consistency down the backstretch as well. With the expected growth of 2nd-year safety Antoine Winfield and veteran Jordan Whitehead, we should see the Bucs secondary start the season like they finished it. Tom Brady tossed for over 4,600 yards, throwing 40 touchdowns to only 12 interceptions last year. He has obviously found a fountain of youth in Tampa, and what started off a bit rocky for the 22-year veteran started to stabilize and find consistency around the midway point of the season. Brady says he still feels great, and it came out recently that he played the entire year with a torn MCL, so who knows what we can expect from a healthy Brady after doing what he did last season injured. Backup quarterback Blaine Gabbert was re-signed to be that guy this season once again, and we talked earlier about them drafting Kyle Trask in the 2nd round and grooming him to be the heir apparent to Brady, so we'll see how Trask does in the preseason if he can beat out Gabbert for that number 2 job. This was another area that saw significant improvement down the backstretch of the season last year and played a pivotal role in the playoffs. Both Ronald Jones II and Leonard Fournette, affectionately known as Playoff Lenny, played extremely well as the season went on and into the playoffs. However, that run game was tied for 28th last season, and everyone, including these 2 backs, expect that to not be the case this year. It seems as though they found their comfort zone within the scheme and work well off one another. Both are still very young backs, 23 and 25 years old respectively, with a lot of football left to give. And the Bucs added veteran Gio Bernard to the mix, and we'll see how he and 2nd-year player Keyshawn Vaughn fits into this rotation. This is the best group of pass catchers in the division and arguably the NFL. Mike Evans is on a Hall of Fame track with the level of productivity he's had to start his career with 7 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, the first NFL player in history to do so. Chris Godwin finished second on the team in receiving and could potentially crack that 1,000-yard barrier this year as well. And both Scotty Miller and Antonio Brown provided a boost to the passing game, with Brown settling in and proving his worth during the playoffs, even scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I'm more excited to see how Tyler Johnson's role increases this year. He stylistically similar to Chris Godwin and figures to be next in line at the position. Rookie Jalen Darden out of North Texas is an explosive, dynamic playmaker with the ball in his hands and is a wideout who plays above his listed height and weight and figures to be a core special teamer in a return game. And rounding out their unit is Justin Watson, who's played well when given the opportunity, but those are limited with the depth that they have here. However, he has turned himself into a very strong core special teamer. Tight end is jam-packed with talent as well, with Rob Gronkowski looking spry coming out of retirement to finish third in receiving and scoring 7 touchdowns. The Bucs get back O.J. Howard as he missed the majority of last year with an injury. He and Cameron Brate are two tremendous receiving options and will find a way to get into the mix as well. Tampa Bay enjoyed strong offensive line play last year, led by their rookie right tackle Tristan Wirfs, who was as good as advertised from the onset. I would expect him to make the Pro Bowl this season. Left tackle Donovan Smith enjoyed a fantastic year as well, along with left guard Ali Marpet and center Ryan Jensen. Now, right guard Alex Kappa played well last year, and after breaking his ankle in the playoffs, he should be back ready to go for the regular season. His absence in the playoffs gave Aaron Stinney an opportunity to make a name for himself, and he did a solid job in reserve, just strengthening this depth as a whole. And speaking of depth, veteran Josh Wells and the drafting of Robert Hainsey out of Notre Dame and getting Brad Seaton back after opting out of 2020 helps that cause as well. What a difference Vita Vea makes up front for the Buccaneers defensive line. When he came back from injury, the Bucs defensive front played significantly better. And Ndamukong Suh returns after a strong year and teaming up with the veteran William Golston, a longtime Buccaneer, to keep this unit intact. Now, when Vea missed time, Raheem Nunez-Roches filled in admirably, giving them good minutes, and expect the second-year player in Khalil Davis to get more opportunities this season after handling his reps very well as a rookie. 12-year veteran Steve McClendon is still able to anchor and gives them good leadership in addition to his steady play. This is the best unit on the defensive side of football for the Buccaneers, in my opinion. Armed with excellent pass rushers in Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul, they added to that with first-round pick Joe Tryon, who has the length and athleticism to be a constant nuisance. We saw Anthony Nelson play some good ball in the playoffs as he hopes to continue to progress and grow his game this season. And second-year player Cam Gale, who made the team as an undrafted rookie free agent, became a special team stalwart and even found himself getting a sack in a Super Bowl. Now, on the inside, Levante David is their best inside linebacker as he enters his 10th season in the NFL. Devin White has gotten better every season and is progressing exactly how you would expect the former first-round pick to do. He led the team in tackles last year with 140. Kevin Minter is a wily vet that's a reserve but will be pushed by those 2 draft picks in both KJ Britt and Grant Stewart, one of which could potentially end up on a practice squad. Antoine Winfield Jr. was outstanding as a rookie and made a game-changing play in that playoff game against the Saints that started their comeback. He's another one of these players who should garner his first Pro Bowl honor this upcoming season. Pairing up with Jordan Whitehead gave the Bucs strong play at the position, with Mike Edwards giving them very good cover skills and an ability to make plays on the ball. Now, we spoke earlier about the talent and confidence at corner with Carlton Davis, who has grown into their best cover guy, and Sean Murphy-Bunting along with Jamel Dean. I would keep an eye out for both rookies, Chris Wilcox and undrafted rookie free agent Cameron Kinley out of Navy, who was granted the opportunity to delay his naval commitment in order to compete with the Bucs. He's cut from the same cloth as Davis, and I think he'll surprise in camp. One of the biggest reasons for optimism for Tampa Bay is the fact that all 22 starters return. That's a lot of continuity on both sides of the ball, and all 3 coordinators return. You have to be optimistic. Plus, they had an excellent draft class, one that's going to help these guys this year and also building depth toward the future. So I love the fact that they got Joe Tryon, they got Jalen Darden. Both of those guys give you a lot of optimism for the future and what they're trying to build here in Tampa. Cause for concern would be if that run game isn't as consistent as it was down the back end of the season and into the playoffs. If they start 2021 how they ran the football earlier in last season, it could be an issue. And if Father Time shows up, as much as we love all 22 starters returning, you can't beat Father Time. So what if it's this year that both Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady, who's going to be 44, shows their age? That could be an issue for this Bucs team, because if that shows up, if Father Time, who is undefeated, shows up, it could be a problem. Now let's take a look at some training camp quick hits, and we'll start with our camp surprises on both sides of the ball. I think up front along the offensive line, Darius Hutcherson has a chance to surprise and make the roster, but also compete, because this is a guy that is a powerful force, explosive upon contact in a run game. And I think he's going to prove to be one of those undrafted rookie free agent finds for Tampa. And Cameron Kinley, we spoke about him earlier in the video, and this is a guy that has the range, the athleticism, the length, and reminds me a lot of Carlton Davis. Rookie impact players, I look at Jalen Darden, a wide receiver out of North Texas. He may not get minutes within the rotation at receiver, but he's going to be an impact day one as a punt returner and perhaps kickoff returner. And Joe Tryon is going to be a situational hired gun as a pass rusher. He has a chance to really thrive in that role this year as a rookie. Looking at an offensive X factor, I'm going to go with Tom Brady, because we just alluded to it earlier. He's going to be 44 by the time the season starts. And while he was great last year playing on that torn MCL, he's now healthy, he's still going to be 44 years old. So at some point, you hope he can beat Father Time. But Father Time is undefeated, so that's something to keep an eye on. And Vita Vea, we saw his impact once he was out of the lineup last year for Tampa. If he can stay in that lineup for a full 17-game season, this defense could really be even better than what we saw last year. Breakout players on offense, I'm going to go with Tyler Johnson. We're going to see him get integrated a little bit more so in the passing game, work himself within that rotation a lot. We saw him get his feet wet last season. Look for his role to grow this year. And Khalil Davis, I thought, played well when he got the opportunity. And I just think what he got last year as a rookie is going to feed that motivation and feed his growth this year along that defensive line, giving them more depth up front. The road to the Super Bowl for the Bucs goes as follows. If that run game consistency that we saw last year in the playoffs carries over into 2021 and throughout the entire season, they're going to be just fine. That secondary continues to make bigger strides now that they have that confidence, and they've added more swagger and actually more playmakers depth-wise on the back end, and depth plays impactful football. If the guys that they brought in to be key reserves step up and make plays, this team can get back to the Super Bowl and even win the Super Bowl. I have the Bucs finishing first in the NFC South. It's just hard to ignore all that continuity returning to a team that won the Super Bowl in the way that they did. So I like this team to make noise in the division once again and put themselves in position to get back-to-back Super Bowl titles. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe to wherever you get your podcast to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating.
It's D-U-E, you tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.